few years ago, I used to get sleep paralysis. I used to suffer from sleep paralysis quite a lot. I used to have bouts of sleep paralysis. And for any of you that don't know what sleep paralysis is, it's when you wake up and you're still half asleep, half awake, and you can't open your eyes and you feel like there's somebody in the room. Terrifying feeling. And I used to get it numerous times when I was younger. I remember one time I was in the bed and I was sleeping. I took a nap, and when I was waking up, I couldn't open my eyes, and I felt somebody brushing their hair on the side of my face, a woman, and it was like I had no doubt whatsoever that woman was in the room. I could feel her hair on my face, and I knew I was still dreaming, and I knew I was still awake. You know, half dreaming, half awake. And I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't bring myself into full consciousness. And yet when I did manage to open my eyes, it was gone. She had gone. The sense of dread in the room had gone as well. Another time, I was asleep on the bed a few years later, and I could feel the presence of a woman sitting at the end of the bed. And I knew the woman was an old woman. And again, when I woke up, when I managed to open my eyes eventually, she was gone. But there was a sense of dread, this sense of this kind of dark feeling. It's very, very strange sleep paralysis when you get it. I don't get it much anymore. In fact, since I pray a lot. So when I incorporated prayer into my life, all of that stuff kind of disappeared, believe it or not. It did for me anyways. I remember another time in Dublin, I was renting a room in a house in Glasnevin, and I went to this Yeats exhibition. There was a W.B. Yeats exhibition in the National Library, and in the exhibition there were all these there were all these books and papers, newspapers, and he had these masks. He used to belong to an order called the Golden Dawn. The Golden Dawn, it was located, I think, in London and Dublin, but he belonged to this kind of like it was like a Freemason kind of thing. As far as I know, they were into all like Egyptian symbology and Egyptian magic. Aleister Crowley was indirectly involved with the Golden Dawn. I think he was a member for a while, but he eventually got kicked out. Himself and W.B. Yeats didn't get on too much. They had a falling out as far as I recall. But I went to Yeats's exhibition, and I saw the masks, and he had these wands there and these like cloaks and robes that he used to wear in these ceremonies. All very intriguing, all very interesting, But I went back to my flat, and a few days later, I had a bout of sleep paralysis, and it was more real than any of the other previous ones. I felt like there was a woman on top of me trying to kiss me, right? A woman on top of me trying to kiss me, and of course, you would think something like that would be something positive, that you'd almost invite it, that you'd embrace it, that you'd find it agreeable. However, when I came out of it, there were tears streaming down my cheeks. So all I can take from that is that it wasn't positive, it was something negative, that something in me, something unconscious was reacting against it. Because, again, I was a young man. I was in my, I was in my late 20s, I guess. And, something like that you would think would be very agreeable, would be very nice for a young man to experience. However, I didn't. That wasn't the reaction I had. The reaction I had was one of repulsion. But anyways, yeah, that when she was on top of me, she was trying to kiss me, and I felt I could actually feel her kind of like floating on top of me, hovering above me, could just about feel her. But again, she was kissing my cheeks and trying to kiss my lips, and I was trying to move away a very, very real and almost a hyper real event, and one of the most strongest bouts of sleep paralysis that I ever experienced. But again, I think since I started praying and praying actually in the name of Jesus, right? Not just saying a prayer, but actually praying in the name of Jesus. All that has stopped. I think I might have experienced it maybe once or twice in the last 10 years, if even. But there was a time where I was experiencing it, almost on a monthly basis. I was getting sleep paralysis a lot. So maybe there's a scientific explanation for it. Maybe there's a realistic explanation for it. I don't know. I don't say I believe in the supernatural. I think the supernatural is just something that we haven't discovered yet, that science hasn't discovered yet. I think in years to come we'll have answers to all these unanswered questions at the moment. So I'm not coming from that area. I'm not coming from that viewpoint, but I know what works for me. Whenever the once or twice that I experienced it in the past, afterwards, as soon as I started praying, it just disappeared. So go figure,